How many of you have ever gone into a presentation in front of your boss, colleagues, or even clients with a cat sitting on your shoulder? Anyone? No, I didn't think so. And in all honesty, if you did, you would be wrong to do so, because the cat would become a distraction, like George here. So why is it that we go into presentations with all other kinds of distractions that take the focus away from where it should be, on us? In this video, I'm going to share a few ways where you can keep the focus where it should be, on you. When you're in a crowded room and you want to get somebody's attention, what do? You wave your hands, you move, you shout. We use movement and sound. If we want to attract the attention of a baby, a small child, what do? We move, we perhaps take something that makes a noise and shake it and woo 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 woo. We make stupid noises. We use movement, sound, and what else? Light. Aircraft at night use flashing lights to signal. In the airport we use lights. If you're lost at sea, you're advised to try and reflect the light. We use movement, sound, and light to attract attention. So movement, sound, and light can work in our favor, or they can work against us. So let's start by thinking about light. Most people, when they use PowerPoint or Keynote, the Apple version, they use the templates that are provided. Now, that's fine, except quite a lot of people will choose a template with black font, black letters, and a white background, like this. And what happens is you're in competition with your PowerPoint or your Keynote, because if your slides are very bright with a white background and the lights are slightly dimmed, that's a huge attraction for our focus, for our attention. So you're constantly in competition. You would need to have the baby's rattle or bright clothing or a cat on your shoulder or something to compete with your visuals. Don't compete with your visuals. So if we change the same slide and put it with a black background and white letters, all we see now are the words. All we see are the words. There is no background. You show this on a grey wall and the background will be grey. There's nothing projecting. So that's one way. Now, if you look at this slide again, there's something else wrong, because I think almost every template on PowerPoint or on Keynote have the same problem, in that the title or the heading is in larger font than the body of the text, which means your attention, your focus goes straight to the heading. I don't want people looking at the title, I want people looking at the detail. So the next thing you should do is reduce the size of the font on the heading or the title of your PowerPoint or Keynote slides. Now, when you look at it, the attention goes where we want it to the detail. But there are a lot of things happening on this slide. We have 4 different points. Where do we want our audience to focus on? Which of these lines? Well, another trick you can do is to have the line you want people to read in a brighter font and dim the brightness on the other lines. Now it's very clear where we want the audience to look. And we can also, by changing where the highlight is, give an impression of movement, and that brings movement into the equation. George loves it when I do this, especially if I do it very fast. But it takes the audience on a journey from point to point with that feeling of movement. But how else can we use movement? Well, if you move from one point in the stage to another, you can also take your audience on a journey. So if I've finished my first point and now I'm moving on to my second point, so that was the first thing I wanted to share with you here today. Now, let's turn our attention, and that movement, that slight movement or a bigger movement across the stage, again, takes the audience with you. They see the movement and they realize that they're moving with you, not just physically, but through your speech, on to the next point. So movement can work in our favor, or it can work against us. I'd like to give you a prezi. Prezi is an English word. It's a contraction of the word present or gift, and has nothing to do with any type of presentation software which may have a similar name. But the prezi that I would like to give to you is when you are using presentation software, be careful not to have too much movement, too much panning across the screen or zooming in or zooming out, if you understand which type of presentation software I'm talking about. This is my prezi to you. Because too much panning is when you move across the screen. And too much zooming in and zooming out can lead to feelings of nausea or actual vomiting in your audience. So I would ask you, there's some very good software out there. Use it effectively by not having too much movement, which can be a distraction for your audience. Sometimes people sit and watch some of these presentations and it's like, wow, this is great, this is amazing. And they're more interested in the technology and the software than what you're actually saying. So be very, very careful with using any type of presentation software. So, movement, light, and sound attract our attention. They can be used in our favor, or they can work against us. Today I wanted to focus on the first two of those, movement and light. In the next video we're going to look at sound, because I'll be telling you how you can use your voice to your greatest advantage. I'm going to explain how you can use your voice to be more expressive, to give greater meaning to what you say. But that's for another day. But before I go, I'd like to leave you with one more really useful piece of advice. And this is about how to get the focus of your audience, how to get the focus where it should be, on you, at the very first moment you start your presentation. How many of you have seen opening presentation slides like this? Where does your focus go? Where does your attention go when you see a slide like this? The problem is there is too much information. We have different types of information, the date, the venue, your name. If the people you are talking to don't know what day it is or where they are, don't waste your time talking to them. Choose a more intelligent audience. There's simply too much information here. If you remove the unnecessary information, we now have a much cleaner slide. Where does your focus go? Where does your attention go? People are far more likely to remember your name, your website address, if that is all that is on the slide. Remember, movement, light, and sound attract our attention. They can work in our favor or against us. The next time you go into a presentation, make sure you don't have a cat on your shoulder. Come on, George.